Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another exciting podcast interview. On today's show, we have a hot topic to talk about, AI, and there's no better person I want to bring in to that discussion other than Ross Tinkham. He is the Vice President and General Manager at Podium for the automotive vertical. Ross, welcome to the show.
Ryan, excited to be here. Thanks for having me today, and looking forward to the conversation.
You know, there was a little gap where we were not keeping up to date with each other on what's new. Last year, you came back into the automotive vertical with a huge push. Before we start talking about AI and the exciting developments at Podium, how's the last year been? I'm hearing now the Podium name mentioned more often again. It seems like there's a great buzz. What has this past year in business look like?
Yeah, great question. So I've been at Podium for 8 years. I just hit my 8-year mark and have been involved with automotive every step of the way. I would say that I have never been more excited about the state of the business and the future, where we're headed as we've come into 2024. And so we have, yes, a renewed, very strong focus for automotive. I think we've gained some great momentum. So we're all feeling very, very excited over here. I think, again, given the constraints, current market conditions, we're thinking about the business in a different way. And there's a lot of opportunity to help support dealers navigate this new normal state that we're in at least for now. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I want to dive into our topic. There's been a lot of coverage on how AI is impacting business, investments. I mean, people who've invested in NVIDIA or other AI-related stocks have seen, 100, 200, 300%. And then people have been asking, well, how can I practically benefit from AI? And so we've seen some tools, especially in the design industry, which is doing some amazing things. And more recently, NADA's probably second most buzzworthy topic was AI. And so we're starting to see applications that impact dealer profitability, elevate the customer experience, and give new insights into the data associated with automotive retail. How is Podium looking at AI in specifics to automotive retail? Where's the gap that you believe AI on your platform is going to fill?
Yeah, so yeah, love the question. A lot of applications for AI, right? A lot of different ways to think about it, or ways in which it can obviously assist humans. But from our perspective, this is where we have seen positive impact. I think if you look at the current state of the market, we know we're back. We're back in a competitive state.
Sure.
Profits are under pressure. Opportunities to drive efficiency, Brian, is where I would really center that answer. I think our focus out of the gate has really been on the sales side of the dealership, in particular around the BDC and lead handling. And so we know that dealers get a lot of leads, right, from a lot of different sources. It can be tough to give all those leads really the attention and love that you would like to. And so I think from the perspective of where leads are entering the dealership, there's a wonderful opportunity to deploy AI and ensure speed to lead, quick connection, right? If that customer is shopping multiple dealerships, we know one thing to be true, that whoever is getting to that customer first, providing a good experience, like they're likely the one that's going to win that lead and convert that lead. So a lot of the focus is just speed to lead for us, Brian. And there's a lot of gaps in current dealer processes that allow them to really achieve that sort of quick turnaround and quality engagement with leads.
Yeah, so let's unpack that for a minute, because there's some AI solutions out there that are helping to write or schedule emails, but Podium fundamentally is an SMS platform. And it would seem to me that if we all agree, and I believe with your statement that the dealer who starts a conversation with the consumer first and provides relevant information to help build trust wins the sale, all other factors equal. So
Sure.
when someone's engaging with a lead and starts a conversation on the website, Podium has always had an advantage, right? Because you're communicating with consumers in the fastest, most efficient communication channel. How would you maybe describe how the AI is helping within an SMS environment as compared to an email environment?
Sure. Yeah, I think, yeah, there's a lot to talk through there. So, over the past year, I think again with things like Chat GPT-4, we got to a place where conversational interaction via text became a real thing, right? To the degree that oftentimes a lead talking to one of our dealers engaging through AI, like it is no different than they think they're talking to a person, and in fact will go into the dealership for their appointment and ask, hey, can I meet Jerry, right? Or whatever the name of
Right.
the AI was. So I think we've hit a point where we're there for SMS communication, where AI can provide human-like interactions, and it does a really good job. Are we quite there with things like voice? I don't necessarily think so, but we'll get there. And so yes, Brian, we've centered very much on the ability for AI to drive a text-based interaction. So when folks are inquiring, a lot of it's around inventory. A lot of those
Right.
inquiries also happen after hours when, by and large, most dealerships aren't, right, you're not staffed, because of course you wouldn't be. And so I think the impact we are seeing is, in particular, engaging with leads after hours, where you're walking in the next day to a test drive scheduled, and that AI has gone through a conversation around a specific piece of inventory. We do scrape the dealer's website. That is our point of truth for inventory. We put a lot of guardrails around what the AI will and will not answer. And I think that's where most folks have the highest degree of concern, right? There's a lot of stories floating around of AI hallucinating or agreeing to a
Right.
price,
And
right?
listen, those are early day, normal variations, but for the most part, dealers who are leaning in my circles are really encouraged. And, I'd like to get your opinion on this challenge about after hours. You brought it up, so I want to go down that path for just a minute.
Sure.
Dealers have, for the most part, been disappointed with outsourced chat. And this has been happening for years. It's almost like a pendulum. Um, let's not offer chat at night. Then they go to a 20 group and a dealer says, man, I'm getting leads at night for my outsourced chat. And okay, we got to put outsourced chat. And then they're like, oh, they're not handling the calls right. And so I'm going to not ruin my brand by putting people behind the chat.
Yep.
One of the things that I'm hearing, and I'd like to get your perspective, is that as the AI is learning more about the dealership and, really these models getting perfected, they're doing a much better job than an outsourced live chat because contextually, they have all the information that was on the VDP. Contextually, they know offers, they know hours, all the things that maybe a human would, oh, hold on, let me look that up, or oh, let me get someone to call you back in the morning with. Are you also encouraging dealers that Jerry, your new AI assistant, um, can really do a better job with these after hours communications than say a call center or a chat center in the Philippines or India or even here in the US?
Sure. Well, so I guess the perspective I would take on that is, what is the outcome that we are driving to? And I think what you have seen with many human-driven services, the outcome that we're driving to is the person is inquiring after hours. I would like to collect some basic information about you, your name, your email address, and we are going to have X, Y, and Z salesperson follow up with you tomorrow morning. And so I think to a degree, it's like, what is the outcome we're looking to achieve? A lot of that's just lead capture after hours. There's no actual engagement necessarily that's being driven. So from a people perspective, how are they trained? What is the type of conversation they're looking to drive? Whereas we have focused very much on the outcome of Jerry, our AI, is to engage the customer, ask open-ended questions, suggest other pieces of inventory if a certain vehicle is not on the lot that potential prospect is looking for, but we're driving to, hey, can we get you scheduled to come in for a test drive tomorrow? And so I think our sort of interpretation is there's an outcome that we're trying to drive, which is quality engagement, get that person to then take the next step to talk with a human, whether that's scheduling a phone call the next day, ideally getting the customer to commit to coming in for a test drive, and speak with a human at the dealership. So I think that's maybe the difference, is what is the outcome that we're driving to with each of those two different, human versus AI engagement.
Yeah, and I've tested after hours chat. I mean, I've been doing this for years, coming on year 19. And granted, chat to the level that we're talking about today, let's just say in the last 3 or 4 years, I've done a lot of testing. And it seems to me that the outsourced after hours chat is, just like you said, not a lot of competency in understanding automotive retail or the dealer or the inventory. And it's more of, oh, great question. And, the dealership's closed. So if I can get your information, I'll have someone call you back. I think that's a huge opportunity for AI, because as the learning models continue to evolve, and we'll talk about this in a minute, how can dealers refine those responses, or can you feed it? And I've seen in some other, kind of chat GPT-esque, programs where you can feed it documentation about the dealership's history, its operating policy, its sales process. It just seems to me that this would make sense as long as the dealer provide enough information. So let's talk about Jerry.
Yep.
When a dealer says, hey, I'm all in, what information can Jerry ingest to help make the responses more tailored to the individual store?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think maybe the most important part of the entire equation, Brian. So we have about 350 dealers on the product today. We started as a closed beta in October of last year, really went full market launch at NADA. So when we set up a dealership today, I think what folks have to understand is like your first 2 to 3 weeks with AI, like there is a learning curve, because the way in which you want the voice to operate, right? The important, unique qualities of your dealership that are different than everybody else, like those need to be reflected in those conversations. And so we work with the dealer to pull in essentially a questionnaire where they can add as much or as little as they'd like to that. And obviously more is better because it helps train AI. So part of it is there are certain questions we ask that we need to know the answer to. We pull a lot of that information from the website. So hours of operation, phone numbers, again, typically inventory. There's a lot we can scrape and pull from the website. So that's helpful as a baseline. But the questionnaire and having that dealer really craft or put certain guardrails around things that maybe another dealer, would approach differently, incredibly important. And so that first 30 days is like learning curve. So just as just a small caveat for anybody looking at an AI solution, my hope is that you find a provider who frames it up that this is not going to be perfect out of the box. Like
That's right.
Just like a new employee is not going to be perfect out of the box. There's a learning curve, whether human or AI here. And so I look at it as a 90-day commitment or a 90-day run where you're working to really customize the AI in that first 30 days, and then it continues to learn or iterate. We also, within our platform, give the dealer whatever employee is in Podium, using Podium, the opportunity to flag conversation. So if you see a response that you roll your eyes at or doesn't look or feel right, those flags are looked at on a daily basis by our engineering team. And so it's constant iteration and optimization. And the technology is growing so incredibly quickly that like there are updates, if not on a weekly basis, in some cases a daily basis. So
yeah, Ross, I want to hit on that because you mentioned if an employee just started, they would need training. And so I want to encourage dealers of a few things. Number one, look at your website. I'll just use the Morgan Auto Group in Florida as one of the groups I work with, or the Herb Chambers Group in Boston. If you have a digital retail process that's branded, for example, Morgan Bypass, no AI knows what Morgan Bypass is. So feeding into the AI model, Morgan Bypass is our online purchasing tool, which makes it easy for If you have a 10-second trade eval button on your website, the 10-second trade eval button gives consumers the, if you have a get instant pre-qualification, like think of your buttons, think of your call to action, and then what do you give your salespeople? Like, what's your sales process? What's your return policy? What's your guarantee? If you say we have the gold bundle package, well, what's in the gold bundle package? I think that dealers need to understand that they could really have a super employee if the AI was fed the same materials, same information, and more thoughtful preparation of what's on the website, what's the sales process, what terms may be used on your website that may be different. I mean, take to an extreme, you go to Canada and you're doing work in Canada, and then the rules of operation in Quebec are completely different, So I hope that dealers realize, just like you said, thinking that any AI model will know your specific dealership's aftermarket products, return policies, guarantees, whatever, and what the website buttons mean, I think would be a mistake. Am I following along those implementation guidelines, Ross, that you're trying to communicate to dealers?
Absolutely. 100%. You hit the nail on the head. I think, again, I would just restate, AI cannot be a perfect out of the box product, because an out of the box product means it is not customized to your operation, right? And so again, you got to give things, you have to feed it, you have to train it, and you have to give it a little bit of time. Don't expect perfect out of the box, because it needs to learn you. So yes, 100% aligned and tracking with what you just shared.
So Ross, let's talk about lift, performance. You mentioned you have a few hundred dealers now since the general release at NADA.
Yep.
So what could you tell a dealer who said, hey, I'm not satisfied with the way that my outsourced agency is handling chat or SMS communications, or how about pre-Podium without AI, now Podium with Jerry, AI assistant? What are you seeing that would get dealers excited to say, hey, I need to revisit Podium because I loved their platform before. Now this AI piece starts to get my attention.
So I think every dealer is going to have a little bit of a different measure for success. So I would say, number one, for anybody considering using Podium's AI, if there's interest, like let's ensure we align on expectations and the outcomes that you are looking for specifically,
Sure.
because those might be a little bit different than someone else. But I think that the measures to success would be, if we go back to after hours, how many more additional test drives are now being scheduled because you're actually staffing the chat after hours, right? And what, as you roll through the funnel, how does the funnel then, right, as we convert down to sales? So I would say, in particular, increased opportunity from just having something after hours is a sound measure in way in which to look at it. I think, in addition to what we're looking at after hours, we have had dealers say, listen, the appointment set rate and show rate that's happening with AI is at the same level as our best BDC person. So I think you have an opportunity to look at this and say, hey, if done right, this can match the level of your most competent BDC rep and the metrics that you're seeing there. So I think those are two really good ways to look at it. Some other folks look at, like, has there been a lift in, gross revenue over a, 60-day period? So there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but I think the easy ones to look at are like, hey, are we seeing more test drives? What is the quality and the conversion of those as we move down the funnel, and how does that compare to a human, right? And I think the other piece I almost forgot to mention, third-party leads. So typically poor conversion, right? We're never going to be as good as
They're tough to get in touch with, right?
tough to get a touch with, but I think so. I think there's industry average is what, somewhere around 2.5% conversion to sale. I think I may be a little bit off on that, but you should be seeing a lift in those. I think in particular, third-party leads, there's gold in there, but they're high volume and typically low conversion. And so we're seeing with AI sort of dutifully working each of those leads and giving them the same care and respect they would to a lead coming in through the website. You should see a lift for sure in things like third-party leads where maybe they were getting less of your attention previously.
Right. So let's talk about that then. When we talk about third-party leads, now we're talking about integration to CRM.
Yep.
And how is Podium now with Jerry interacting with or getting those third-party leads into its system?
Yeah, let's chat through that. So just to back up a moment, yes, Podium framed as SMS platform. Brian, as you know, I think we touched on this when we spoke maybe 6 months ago. We've also launched a phones product. And so Podium's, if you go to our website, you will very clearly see our value to dealers is like a lead management and conversion platform. Okay. And so that is how we are positioning ourselves in the market, whether those leads come in through SMS, through the website, through the phone, or through a third-party lead source. And so for dealers, Podium becomes the hub of all of their leads. And this is a bit of a process change or a deviation from what is table stakes, where all those lead sources are obviously plugged into the CRM. And so the way in which our technology functions is a dealer would take those lead sources, plug them into Podium. Okay, so that's maybe integration number one. AI is running in the Podium platform in our software, and then we then feed those leads via API connection back into your VIN, your dealer socket, your e-lead, and then any activity or turns of the conversation that are happening, those append to that customer record in the CRM. So it's a bit of a different workflow, right? Unplug lead source from CRM, plug into Podium, but at the end of the day, the information that the dealer would want now flows back into their CRM, including initial lead source, right? So it's not like every lead is this, these are all Podium leads, it's Podium dash XYZ initial lead source. And so you're also able to still run the same analytics with probably a couple of tweaks there. But yeah, it's a process change for folks using Podium, as I just described there.
So let's walk through that just a little bit more detail. So I'm feeding in my cars.com leads, right? They come into Podium. Of the leads that have a phone number, is Jerry sending an initial, hey, I see you're interested in a vehicle. Do I have permission to continue the conversation via text? Is it moving that initial cars.com or Auto Trader or Car Guru's lead through the normal Podium SMS channel?
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly right. We'll be rolling out the same for email. So that is, again, another channel we're adding into Podium here. So as it stands right now, any lead with a phone number, quick acknowledgement, hey, we got your text, or we got your inquiry, we'll be right with you. Give that about 30 seconds or so, and then the AI will start to kick in and work to engage with that customer based on the piece of inventory they're interested in, like whatever context we can grab that's associated with that lead. We're working on getting there for email as well here this quarter. So that's how it functions.
Man, that's exciting. And here's the reason why. I know that dealers struggle with effective scaled SMS. And this seems to me like a real smart solution, especially because the fastest way to get someone to start a conversation is with SMS. It's just the fastest way. I listen to my voicemails 2 or 3 times a year. I read my emails multiple times a day, but there are gaps in the day where I'm not looking at email for hours and hours, and I'm looking at my text in real time. So if I'm going to try to be the first dealer to communicate with a customer who filled out a lead on cars.com for my vehicle, knowing they probably filled out a lead form for other vehicles for other dealers, I want to be the first one to start that communication. And if dealers really understand that, time to conversation metric, I think the fastest, the easiest would be through SMS. Am I in line with what data you're seeing? Although email being important, I think if we're talking about beat the clock, SMS is the way to go.
Yeah, 100%. Email still important, right? We're never gonna walk away from email. Again, as I just articulated, we are adding that as a way to interact with AI in our own platform, and so understand the importance. But yes, it has been the case. We've been presenting on this, sharing data. Consumers prefer SMS. Text messages are still open to the tune of roughly 98% within the first few minutes of receiving them. And so, yes, texting is still the channel. Like that has not changed. It does not mean other channels are not important or valuable, or places like Instagram, Facebook, etc., where you might be engaging with an audience, but it is still texting all day. And again, given the fact that it is asynchronous communication, where you have some gaps in that conversation, it goes on potentially for a longer period of time. I think that's part of the reason AI functions so incredibly well there, right? Like it
It
doesn't
never
need
gets tired and it never forgets where it left off.
exactly. So it's really it's a perfect match for texting at this point in time.
Yeah, and I just want to reinforce our conversation. Dealers, you should be testing AI applications, especially in this economic environment, because it's cost effective, cost of labor, erodes margins. And of course, we're in the human business, and this is an important decision. Consumers want to talk with people, but getting those initial appointments, getting the time to talk, getting those test drives booked, or a commitment to share a little bit more than the lead form would indicate is really the most important thing, which would allow a great sales associate to pick up the ball from there and close the deal. And
Yep.
I also want to reinforce what Ross has said a number of times, and I'm seeing this in other AI applications. When you look at AI as a newbie employee that can learn at lightning fast speeds, well, your thought process should be, how do I feed it the information about my business, use cases, things that we don't talk about, things that we do talk about, how to answer specific questions. I'm sure dealers have Q&A books, training logs, and manuals. All of these, if they're in electronic form, can be very easily absorbed into a learning model. So I just want to make sure dealers understand the previous versions of things like the early versions of Conversica or something. Dealers had no control over how that platform responded to consumer responses. We're in a new age now. We have a super customizable machine that can work to create the perfect responses in the fastest time, around the clock, without getting tired. But it is a partnership, Ross, right? The best
Yeah.
dealers, I'm assuring, is giving you feedback. They're feeding more input. It's really training up the super staff.
It is, and I think that is the way in which I have trained my sales team to have these conversations, which is, again, we got to be aligned on expectations here. Understand this is a customizable product that will get to the point you want it to, but we're looking for partnership here, not necessarily just for having this function as best as it can for the specific dealer, but for the product overall. And so there's a lot of AI solutions out there, companies very large, very small, all across the spectrum. My hope and advice would be find a company that you feel like wants to operate as a true partner, because this is new technology. It's growing, right? There's iterations every single day. And so I think dealers have a real opportunity to shape this product if you're working with the right partner. So it's fascinating. It's an exciting time to be able to partner together on that front from a technology perspective.
And that's why I'm super excited, Ross, that you're going to be at the Digital Marketing Strategies Conference in Austin, June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. We're bringing together the tech leaders. It's the Davos of automotive technology and marketing. The leaders are coming to discuss the new innovations, the new opportunities, the new integrations, the ways in which we can elevate the customer experience through better marketing, better communication, better website experiences. All of these are so important, especially when you think that dealers are spending thousands, 5,000, 10,000, up to, I've seen north of $100,000 a month for some large stores on their marketing, driving traffic to their website. They're generating leads, third-party leads, first-party leads, and yet they're falling down in customer service, engagement, connection, and really servicing the questions that consumers have. This is a breakthrough, and that's why DMSC always delivers the leading edge opportunities for dealers to improve their competition advantage in their local market. You know, Ross, DMSC is coming up. What are you and the Podium team most excited about at that opportunity face to face with dealers? What's your thought process?
Well, I think that number one, Brian, I think your conferences are always, from an educational perspective, outstanding. So, like, just top of the list, I like to go just to learn, right? Like, I think, and to bring members of my team around to understand what is happening in the market, bigger picture, and what is like the focus on the next horizon. And I think, again, it's AI. You've talked a lot about the CDP. I think there's really interesting opportunities for AI to grow and become more powerful with a connection to the CDP, so on and so forth. So I think number one, just the opportunity to learn, engage where dealers are running into challenges, and yeah, of course, I think share the success folks are seeing on Podium. But like, we're there to learn, we're there to improve our products and to be a better partner. And so we're there for engaging conversations and the opportunity just to connect face to face with folks. That's why we'll be there.
Great. And Ross, one of the things I'm excited about as I'm looking at the CDP platforms on the marketplace, they really need Podium's communication API. Remember, the CDP's function is really to unite, update, and keep the customer profile up to date, and to move those consumers in different audiences based on real-time activities or changes in their profile. And when it comes to notifying a customer about a recall, or reaching out to a customer who's been out shopping but didn't fill out a form on the website, I mean, texting is the best way. So I'd love at DMSC just to talk to you about some of the CDP platforms that I believe are leading the charge, and would be great to see more proactive API integration because of the AI behind your SMS messaging, man. Because tell you the truth, not all CRMs have a robust enough API, but yet Podium is being used not just in automotive, but really addressing the needs of small businesses in all verticals, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we for sure have 4 or 5 verticals of focus, automotive being one of those, but we do serve about 100,000 businesses, primarily in the US and Canada. And so I think, again, interesting thing for an organization like Podium is the ability to understand and adopt learnings. At the end of the day, it's all about the consumer, Brian, right? Like, and so I think
That's right.
that's always our center of gravity, is how do we make Podium the best in class tool for a business? Yes, but like, how does that align with the expectations of the modern consumer? Like, if that is your center of gravity and your perspective, I think you're bound to make good decisions along the way. So
Right. Well, Ross, we are excited to have you. Thanks for supporting and underwriting dealer education at DMSC. Dealers who haven't booked their tickets, you should know that our hotel block with that discounted hotel rate is ending soon. So go to digitalmarketingstrategies.org, get your ticket booked, get your hotel booked. This is going to be an exciting conference where we're going to be talking about AI applications in automotive, customer data platform, CDPs, data hygiene, first-party data management. We're going to be talking about marketing automation platforms. Man, we're going to be looking at some of the best marketing solutions and success stories in automotive retail. Wow, it's going to be an amazing conference. And if this is the first time you're listening to one of our podcasts, you should know there's interviews with dozens of automotive leaders. Just search for the Brian Pash Podcast, and you'll get a chance to listen to other professionals who have a vision for elevating the customer experience in automotive retail, giving dealers more efficient operations, greater profitability, but a greater experience for the consumer, all part of this Road to DMSC series as we get ready for DMSC June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in Austin, Texas. Ross, one last thing. If dealers listening to today's podcast want to learn more about your communication hub, the ability to really elevate customer communications in a timely manner through your new AI platform, what's the best website to go to? And is there any like slash something that would help them get into the automotive vertical applications?
Yep, podium.com/automotive, or just head to podium.com. We very directly, funnel folks based on their line of business on how they can best inquire with us. So podium.com/automotive. And then if there's ever any interest in engaging directly, I'm simply ross@podium.com, and always welcome any conversation.
Right. That's a valuable email address when you only have first names. Come on. You've been around for a long time. I love it.
I'm an old man here. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Ross, thank you for your time today. I want to thank all the dealers and automotive industry professionals who are listening today. Don't forget, listen to the entire series on the road to DMSC, because we're really going to have meaningful discussions about the future of automotive retail in regards to marketing and technology and AI and innovation at DMSC. We'll see everyone on our next podcast interview.